Hello out there, and I've got a modification update video for you today with this Benchmade Mini Griptilian and then also a brand new Ganzo, the F7611. And I did some new things, a couple things a little bit different. I made a brand new mistake too, so we'll definitely go through all that, go over what I did, and definitely always interested in your feedback down below. But let's start with the mini grip. And this mini grip is one in S30V. That I got on eBay. I got it for like 55 bucks. It was really beat up, completely dull when I got it, and it was DLC coated as well, and the coating was worn, and I knew I was gonna have to like take that off, and I'd never done that before. I'd never done an etch after taking off a DLC coating, and so that was a pretty interesting challenge just to get that finished the way that I wanted to before I actually started the etch. And I think overall, like, the etch took really well. I mean, you can see the acid etch, I have a new like combination when it comes to the ferric chloride solution, which I'll talk about when I get to the Ganzo. But what we have here is we have like this tooth mark kind of design, and on this side I think it came out pretty clean and looks really neat. And then over here, just a couple opportunities with the lines. I realized over the course of this that I'm not particularly good at drawing teeth. But what I was trying to do is do something different that wasn't a tiger stripe. And so this is what I came up with. And overall, I don't know, I think I'm pretty happy with it, but just looking at the knife from a distance in retrospect, I think the knife might have just looked better if I did a simple acid wash. That said, it is a little bit more unique now. So, I mean, there is at least that. One note about the etch is you can see I left the DLC coating with the S30V stamp at the top of the knife. Generally speaking, I'm not, you know, that picky about like having those kind of markings left on the knife, but since I am trying to collect every steel that the mini grip is made of, you know, I'm trying to have one of everything. I did want to leave it on this knife, and I don't know, the more that I look at it, the more it's starting to bug me. So I don't know, maybe eventually I'll take that off, but we'll see. And then looking at the rest of it, these scales, the clear scales and the blue hardware, these were things that were already on my my Benchmade mini grip. And so when I put that Ritter grip, the carbon fiber on the Ritter grip, I just swapped out the scales and put that on this knife. So just makes it a little bit more unique and even more of a talking point, which is pretty cool. Now, the sharpness of the knife, like I said, was completely dull when I got this, and I'm not a very good sharpener, just gotta be honest with you there. This knife wasn't usable, and I just put it on the Spyderco Sharp Maker, and even after, you know, the acid etches and everything that I did with it, this thing came back, like the edge came back on this knife really fast. And you can see there's just a lot of opportunity left for me to get even a better edge, and go further with it, but just for functionality, it's not necessary at all. The knife is extremely sharp now, and I'm just very surprised. You know, I know that it's hollow ground, but S30V, just generally speaking, shouldn't be that easy to sharpen. So the fact that this took like 10 minutes to get screaming sharp was a very big surprise for me. You know, and this one, pretty smooth, still working really well. One more note about this is the clip. You know, I went on Instagram and I had a post saying, what clip should I use for this knife? And a lot of people were responding about some of the carbon fiber clips that I have and saying, hey, you should use those. And you can see them in this bag here with the other extras. And the carbon fiber ones are great, but if anyone's on eBay taking a look at those, just my recommendation is make sure that that's something that you really want, because those clips are really all about look over function. They're light and they're attractive, but when you get them on the knife, they just don't feel sturdy. It just doesn't feel strong in the pocket. And every time I get a new Benchmade, I try to throw that clip on it just to see if I'm going to like it, and I've never found the right knife for those clips yet. So what I did go with was this split arrow clip. It does have a worn finish, so it sort of matches the etch a little bit. So I thought that worked out well. And I don't know what I'm going to do with those carbon fiber clips, because like I said, they're just really, you know, they're just really not functional, I think, in terms of having a good secure pocket carry. So one more look at that etch, a little more up close, and then we will move on to the Ganzo. All right, so this Ganzo, really neat model, the F7611. one of their newer designs. My buddy Jimmy Slash over on his channel picked one up a couple weeks ago. He loved it, and when I took this out of the box, I felt the exact same way. I thought it was really well built. The axis lock on this was excellent, really smooth. I think this is an original design, I think, from Ganzo, but that said, it looks really familiar to a whole bunch of other knives already, so original or not, I'm not sure. But getting into the mods here, I did everything with this one, just right out of the box. I went to work on it. And I want to focus on the acid etch for just a second because I did this acid etch a little bit differently than other ones in the past. I tried to make this one look more like what you would see from other people who modify knives or from companies that modify knives. I tried to make it just a more even, laid back etch where a lot of mine are really dark and really aggressive. This one, I used a new solution where it was like a mixture of 33% water and then the rest of the filling was the ferric chloride. So 1/3 water, 2/3 ferric chloride, and I only kept this knife in the etchant for 30 to 35 minutes. So that's how I got this color. And then instead of shaking the knife pretty aggressively like I tend to do in the containers that I use, I have this Planters like peanuts jar. So I put the blade in here and I just rotated it that way instead of like shaking it aggressively. And that's how I got the result that I did. And it's different for me. And you might not really be able to tell just looking at it on camera versus like in person, but this versus a lot of my other etches, yeah, just very different, and I'm happy with it. I'm happy I was able to do it, and I'm definitely going to do like contrasting kinds of etches on different knives just to give a, like I said, nice contrast in finishes across the board. So should be pretty interesting moving forward now that I have figured this out. But moving on back with the rest of the knife, I didn't take off the thumb studs. They were hard to take off, and so I just dropped the whole knife into the etchant with it, and it sort of looks cool. It's still a little bit blue. You can see it's worn. I polished the tips, so it gives it this like specific silver touch on the end there, which is sort of neat. And then I bronzed the axis bar and acid stone washed the clip and then also the liners just to give it like uniformity. And I did dye the scales. So this was a like green camo digicam kind of look, and I tried to make it red. And while that's not 100% successful, it definitely is different from how it looked, and it gives it more of like a, I don't know, like a purplish kind of red undertone, which I think is really neat. I think it makes the blue hardware jump out pretty well. So while it isn't as dark as I wanted it to be, it still did work out. Looking inside the knife, first of all, take a look at this milling. That's awesome. This knife is, I think, less than 4.5 ounces for the size of it, which is very good, like very, very good. So it feels super light in the hand for the size. But then I did make a mistake, and it was something I didn't anticipate and something I'll definitely learn from, but I don't think that I'd ever, I might be wrong with this, but I don't remember ever etching an axis lock knife with liners like this before. I never etched the liners. And so what I didn't do is I didn't put nail polish in the cutouts where the axis bar moves back and forth. And so that area etched, and I just didn't have the foresight to think that that could be an issue. And so what I'm finding now that the knife is back together is I have a little bit of up and down play because the axis bar isn't as strong in the spot where it should be, you know, as it was out of the box. So let's say if I'm just holding the knife and I'm pushing on the axis bar like this, there is zero movement at all. It's perfect. But because I etched that area on the inside on those liners just a little bit, there's just a little bit of wiggle on the axis bar, and it just makes it a little too easy to disengage and creates a tiny bit of up and down. Now, just looking at it, I mean, I took this knife apart and put it back together multiple times just to test this and to figure out that that was the problem. And what I've sort of decided is, you know, just that little bit of up and down, it's still safe, you know, and just what it would take to disengage the knife enough in order to have the lock fail isn't enough for me to worry about it in use. But yeah, still sort of a bummer that that happened, and I'm really happy that it happened on a $20 knife and not a like $100 knife. So definitely something I'll be keeping in mind for next time and future mods. All right, guys, but that's really all I've got today. I've got these two right here, that new Ganzo, and then also this mini grip. One last look at that. The next knife that I'm going to be modifying is this really awesome Crkt Buku. Doing it for my friend Peach Jackson. She sent this to me along with a Pilar that I'm going to be working on as well. Really excited about the work that I'm going to do on this because it is just a big blank canvas and should be a whole lot of fun. So stay tuned for all that, guys. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, let me know down below. I will talk with you soon. I really appreciate it. Have a good one.